Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, super intelligent shades of the color yellow, everybody's welcome here, unless you've got an IQ under 100, in which case you're welcome, but you'll probably miss it. So you're in the wrong place. My very special guest today is the lovely Jess Henrard, who many of you will remember from a few years back when she was on my channel regularly, but we both worked out that we were both too busy to get it together to make all of that happen. And many things have happened. So I thought what I'd do is invite Jess to say hey and update us on anything she wants to, and then we can just have chit chat for a bit. So Jess, tell us all about it. Bring us up to date.
Nice to see you. Yeah, it's been a few years since we've been doing these on the rig, and I think it's something that we should maybe reintroduce, but life, as you said, happens, and we have both a lot on our schedules. But it's been fun. I'm still, in terms of like food and life stuff, if you guys don't know, I actually initially came across Carnivore because of Bart and did the 90-day initial program for Carnivore through the Steak and Butter Gang back in the day in 2022. And that's when I went from kind of heavy meat-based into full carnivore and had amazing results. I'm sure we can pop some before and after photos in here for you guys if you haven't seen them already. And yeah, since then it's just been much the same. So in terms of that stuff, I'm still loving my meat life and thriving in my health, and yeah, all of that stuff is really good. Helping a lot of other people transition over into this way of eating, this way of living, even just finding out that it exists and it's not weird, and just helping spread the healing of meat. So that's been fun. I have got 3 little girls. They're all doing very well, and I'm also a health expert. So Bart and I actually met originally when I did my degree in sports, like 2004 or something like that. And yeah, it's so great to be back in each other's lives again after being a student after many years now specializing in health. So it's pretty cool how I've done a bit of a full circle. And yeah, that's been about it for the last 2 years. It's just been very busy helping humans.
So just remind us, Jess, when you did your degree in 2004, and that's how you came across myself, just what capacity was I in at that time?
You were my professor, exercise physiology, and a number of other papers. Why?
So there you go. Did I make it up?
Oh,
there are still people online claiming that my academic past career is a fabrication of my mind in some way. It's incredible. That's what happens when people can't actually assail your argument. They'll go, well, let's see if we can take a crack at the bloke himself. He made up his career because we can't find it online. That's the way I like it. I don't want people knowing where to find me because of various obvious reasons, like the way I...
Well, that happened to Dr. Anthony Shafi as well. They tried to say that he wasn't a neurosurgical resident. People make up absolute hogwash, don't they? But that's okay, because it just means that you're talked about, because you're helping a lot of people and we're going against the mainstream. And as soon as you do those two things, you get under people's skin, which again is a good thing. I have had, again, hundreds, like literally I have so many people contacting me that have gone into this way of living and they've healed stuff that's not been, healable, and they've really, really transformed their lives. And that's what, it's all worth it, to help people with that stuff. I had a girl recently, and she's been following me for ages, and she's actually in some kind of health capacity of working with humans. And she said to me last night, I'm just sitting here eating my sausage, my beef sausage, and I'm eating it with some chunks of butter. She said, is this really healthy, Jess? Like, I'm not going to give myself a heart attack, am I? And you just reassure people, like, you're cool, you're good. I promise you that this is the way forward. Don't be frightened, because it literally, they put the fear of life into you, don't they, that you're going to end up dead.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, a bit ironic considering, if we were just to take examples of N equals 1 just for fun, you would go like, well, okay, Dr. McDougall died this week, the vegan high starch guy, one of the high priests formerly of the Church of Anorexia Vegana. He died aged 77 this week. The average lifespan is 78.
What? Not my lifespan book.
No, neither. I'm planning on a lot longer than that if I possibly can.
My goodness. I think capacity is 120 to 150.
Yep. Agreed.
And I think if I had started this earlier and just lived a more happy, healthy life, and this isn't just food, because food is a part of health, as we all know. Food is health is many elements, nervous system function and health. There's mental, there's physical, there's spiritual, there's all the different parts of health that, impact on us. Where was I going with that? About
how food is part of the picture, but it's not the whole story.
Lifespans, yes. And so depending, on how we've been nurtured from birth to, and all the experiences we've gone through, I think we do have capacity to be 150, depending on, what that looks like. And if I'd found meat, this part of health, a lot younger, I feel like I definitely would live to be really super old. But I'm going to be really functional in my age. So I'm excited to kind of get older, which is a bit weird for a girl to say, I'm sure.
No, I can see it. You young people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be a nightmare.
All right.
And honest and have no filter. Imagine what I'm going to be out as an old woman.
Oh man, incredible. All right, so let's talk about some of the facets of what it is you do, how you've been doing it, and all of that kind of stuff to some degree, because there'll be a lot of people watching this that will not have been around my channel at the time that you were more ever present on a weekly basis. And I reckon we should get back to it just quietly. I really do. I'd love to have you. Because if nothing else, we're in the same time zone. And most crazy.
After most about not being in the same time zone, we're finally in the same time zone, you and I. But yes, fire away, because I know a lot of people on your channel don't necessarily know me.
All right, so let's talk about this crazy idea of working with people in a physical and therapeutic fashion in such a way as to basically rewire a person's entire nervous system in such a way as to have some kind of impact on their life in some way. Tell us what you're doing, because there are about 20 or 30 of you in the world that are qualified to do this?
Yes. Correct.
Tell us about it.
So neuro reset technique is what I specialize in. I've been doing it for almost 12 years, Bart, which is insane. As you know, I was in sport. I was a very good trainer, and I came across this very rare form of neuromuscular-based therapy, which at the time, that didn't mean anything to me. I still didn't know what neuromuscular meant, really. I knew it was brain and muscular, but I didn't really know what that meant. And essentially what it does is it restores our motor control, our muscle function, so our mobility, our strength, and our control of an area of our tissue. And that can be any tissue in your body, and that can be internal or external tissues, and restore function and strength to that. And it's using a very special learning modality where you're essentially learning to control yourself. And you're learning where your weaknesses exist in your nervous system and in your brain. And then essentially, like you said, rewiring.
Ted says if it's anything to do with controlling yourself, he's not interested, frankly. And he seems to have disappeared. Where is Ted? He was here a minute ago.
Your body. No control, Ted.
Ted has not been seen at the camouflage training. Anyway, yes. Yeah, it's funny how you say about, restoring strength and all that kind of stuff. And we can give an example of that in a minute. But not the day after you've been treated. I can promise you that.
Well,
Look, let me describe my physical disposition today for you. Today, I had treatment yesterday. I had 2 days of treatment this week for an issue that we've been working on, Jess and I, for a bit. And today I feel like I have been punched about every part of my upper body repeatedly by Ted with his boxing gloves on or whatever. And it's like proper DOMS. So this is not passive stuff. This is not lie on the table and receive treatment. This is work.
Yeah. Well, at the point that you're at, yes, but with some people, no. You're just literally, we work with anywhere from chronic illness, like we're talking cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, chronic illness, and chronic injuries, spinal cages and, snapped tendons and like properly broken down people. And so depending on where you're at on that health scale will depend on how much treatment and the type of treatment that you will receive. So some of it can be passive and some of it can be gentler, but yes, absolutely there is work involved. You're earning and relearning a sense of your own body from a non-conscious level. And there's nothing else that does that on this planet. And like you said, we're doing this new piece at the moment, which is all about pressure in the abdomen and containing pressure. And that is hard work because you have to actually recruit that tissue internally. And that's really challenging.
There were several mentions to my bum hole during that session. It's disgraceful, Jessica.
Oh, it's so
I know
funny.
we've been friends for a long time, but goodness.
Stop talking about my anus.
Or, more anus talk.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, people don't understand what it is that I do because I'm working with the non-conscious body, and people don't understand that the non-conscious system is a thing. And so the nervous system, essentially, I love to think of it as the wiring, like just think of it as the connection from the brain to the muscular system. If that's poor or weak and has poor receptive sense, then we're going to have a lack of sense of our body and a lack of sense of control over an area of our body, and therefore it becomes weak. So if we have weak musculatures that in our abdominals, in our stomach, in our diaphragm, in our intercostals, in our pelvic floor, like Bart's just mentioned, then we won't have use of those tissues and strength and control over those tissues. So what we do with NRT is essentially we're restoring your function and control to those non-conscious systems so that you have instant strength, mobility, range of motion, and control. It also strengthens your nervous system because every time you're working on a weak part of yourself that you've found and discovered in your nervous system, your whole system gets stronger. So each time you off those weaknesses, you get more and more robust and resilient.
Well, the example I was going to give earlier, and I'll give it now, is that last time I was actually up in the same city as where Jess lives, we did some physical hands-on stuff and all of that, and we were able to test strength output before and after a 30 to 45 minute treatment session. And what occurred was a 100% increase in my maximal volitional force production at a given joint in 45 minutes.
Yeah, tell people that don't know what you're saying what that means.
What that means is I got twice as strong as I was before.
Yes.
Basically, and we measured that using a thing called a force dynamometer. Now say that 10 times quickly. Yeah, that was really
because people believe to get stronger, you've got to do repetition, you've got to get progressive overload and adaptation. And what we're saying with NRT is we can restore strength and control instantly without you doing 50 million repetitions, gradually adapting. And so that's a very strange concept for most people to grasp. It's like, well, what do you mean? And me being in health for such a long time before I found NRT, that's what I believed. I thought, I have to pump this weight and keep to get strength. And that's not what I found with NRT. It is instant. And you also get to keep the control that you've earned over yourself. So this work that Bart's doing at the moment to create pressure and to be able to really anchor and have some really strong core function and stability, once he earns that and treats each piece of that, he gets to keep it. And there's nothing like that. It's just so amazing. I love my work. I'm really happy that you and I are working together again to make your body a little bit more robust after all the injuries and things that you had over the last year. And to just get you in a more stable, strong state to take over the world, because we're here to help, right? We have a big mission, really, to help the world. I want to help millions of lives. One, just to know the basics of, if you're a human being, you eat meat, like just really basic. And then on a very deep level, I want to help people with their nervous system function and strength. And that doesn't just give them control of their body. The new part of RT that I've been learning for the last 2 years is the mind stuff.
Yeah. Maybe you're here to help people. I only exist to serve Ted.
That's okay. You can help Ted. Helping Ted will help the world.
Yes.
I mean, I've known Bart for a very, 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 very long time. And we know each other on multiple levels because we've worked in a capacity where he's been my professor, and then we've been friends. And then I have then coached him and helped him with neuromuscular function and control. And so there's been this dynamic of play, but because of that, we know each other very, very well. And I feel like you get a little bit misconstrued online. I think.
Oh, no shit. Do I?
Very misunderstood. And I think the good thing is about when we chat is that people they can hear and feel the authenticity of our relationship, the fact that there is zero filter, we'll just say whatevs, and that if you ask a question, you're going to get a genuine answer, and that they can find a space with us where they can feel like they might understand you a little bit better, because you do want to help the world, and you joke about, I don't want to, but you have been in health and in teaching human function for your life, your whole life, babe. And so you are here to help people. We are here to help people. And yeah.
It's just between you and me, though. We'll keep it secret that I'm actually really genuinely here to help. And for those of you that still don't get me online, it's an act, you moron. Fuck, it's a fucking act. Of course it is. The persona.
Yeah.
Is the character underpinned by a real person in the real world, a human, me, yes, who actually has some credentials and knows what he's talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Anywho, take it or leave it in terms of my channel. I'd rather you took it, though, because I really do feel like I have something of value to teach you, but there you go. It's up to you. Yep.
Yes. Well, that old saying of only being able to lead the horse to water, and I went through that massively last year with working with a ton of different clients that weren't ready for the work that needed to be done, or weren't in the place to do it, or needed more time to be guided through it. And I felt like I was like dragging people along and really like forcing them into learning this stuff, because it changes lives. This stuff's transformational. There's no short of that. In neuro reset technique, it has changed the world, and people don't even know it exists, which is two crazy things. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Brilliant. That's NRT. Check it out. Contact Jess, and she'll probably be able to see you sometime around about 2050, I would imagine, because, they're pretty busy. But anyway, there's that. The other thing that we've got going on collectively is this crazy green pills business. Now, let's make a public announcement, just because I have permission to make a public announcement of this nature. Well, here it is. Here it is. Those who are involved, those who are either customers or involved in the IBO business, or whatever, anyone that's tried the product from the Cerule company, it's a fantastic product. It does what it says it does. I get great results. But there is that group of people, specifically in the carnivore community, who either A, don't necessarily react well to the product because of some of the things that's in it, or B, are hypersensitive and, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I have been cajoling, would be a fair word. I've been cajoling Mr. Andy Goodwin, who is one of the co-owners of the Sorrel Company, to please put together and allow me to market a hardcore carnivore clean formulation that doesn't have those bits and bobs in it that the Sorrel products do have for the general Sorrel products.
Yeah.
Like a cellulose-based capsule, which can be a problem for a very few people.
Mm-hmm.
Like a flow agent that allows the encapsulation of the product, which is actually a resistant rice starch. Although in a tiny amount, nonetheless, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like some of the non-core line products, the extended products contain one or two things like a colouring agent for some reason and an artificial sweetener and or sugar.
Mm-hmm.
In very small amounts, sure, but still nonetheless it's there and it can be problematic. If not actually physically to a carnivore community, then emotionally. We don't want that stuff. Get it out of there. What are you doing? And, you know, all of that. Anyway, the word is it's going to happen. They are going to put together a range of Sorrel products parallel to the existing for general public range, which will not have a rice-based capsule, which will not have the encapsulation agent from rice starch, which will not have colours, will not have sweeteners, be that sugar or artificial. Thank the Lord above, if there is such a thing. I don't know, and I'm not going to say there is or isn't. Either way, that has got to be, you know, something that we as a carnivore community can get excited about. It will be trialled first in our local market here, the New Zealand and Australian combined market.
Yeah.
We will succeed at marketing it according to our projections that we've given the Sorrel Company. And it will go international.
Yeah. But
not next week. So don't stop buying Sorrel right now because, you know, next week it'll be no, this is some time away, but it's happening.
Yay. I'm so pleased because, you know, Bart and I have had several conversations about Sorrel. I've been using their stem cells.
You mean you've given me your opinion repeatedly?
Yeah.
Well, that's what a conversation is with Jess often.
It's not.
Go on, lovely.
I listened very well. Thank you very much.
Why did it take us 7 or 8 meetings then when I was supervising your dissertation to get 1 or 2 of those paragraphs removed that were just waffle?
You deleted all my work.
Exactly. Waffle.
Hours, and you're just slashing it with your pen, you horrible man.
Yes. Good.
I do waffle, yes. However, there's a lot of value in the waffle, so you just have to hold on and hang on and hope the little nuggets are going to come out.
Same if you're a vegan.
What was your question? Oh.
Waiting for those little nuggets when you're a vegan. I don't know what my question was.
No, I'm very excited about that because, you know, I use Sorrel products. I have done for about 3 and a bit years, and use their night cream and their CC creams are beautiful, and I have very much loved their products. But the big issue that I found with it was exactly the things that you pointed out. And so my original getting around it was to open the capsules and tip them into a cup with water. But they are very messy. Obviously, the colors is like you said, the being green or blue, it was everywhere. It stained, it was messy, it took ages. It was a bit of a nightmare for me. So that was the reason I didn't really, really start shouting about the Sorrel products, because I couldn't fully back them up because of those few reasons. So I'm really excited to know that they're listening to what's important. In terms of, you know, a health product, we want it to add to our health. So yeah, that's great. That sounds so good.
Awesome. Yep. Because I mean, the core line, the 3 core line products, the Stem Enhance, the Active, the Plasma Flow.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant products, despite those aspects that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And they have absolutely, I'm quite sure, made, a massive difference to my life. Without making any therapeutic claims. You can actually watch my story about the stuff if you want to on the channel. It's there. Good. So that's that one.
Yay.
What else is, of import, something that we would want to bring people up to speed on?
My cookbook coming out soon.
Yes, good. Cookbooks, tell us.
Well, it's just so we've been working just on a digital cookbook. Sadly, I haven't had any publishing offers, but let's see what comes about when it actually gets launched, because it's really simple. It's got all our favorite things in it, and you have eaten most of the things that are going to be in that cookbook. It's carnivore made yummy. It's carnivore made kid friendly. It's carnivore made to push the borders a little bit, because yes, meat and red meat is predominantly all I eat. And no, you don't need to make things that are like other things in order to thrive in this way of eating. It isn't. Like, I love steak. I love beef. I could live just on beef quite happily. However, I have 3 little girls, and they're in environments where they're surrounded by other children and people that this is not a normal way of eating. And it makes them feel, I believe, at times isolated. Maybe they don't feel like they fit in. Like, I'm putting words out there. It's not like they've come to me and said that, but us as human beings wanting to fit in and wanting to be a part of something, it can be quite isolating, and you can feel like you stand out. So having alternative things that we can make and create that look like other foods, that keep it interesting for our kids, that gets them excited about eating this way, and therefore makes it more sustainable and makes it a lifelong thing, not something that they just did when they grew up or something that I did temporarily. It is creating that sustainability of health, because I call them like carnivore junk foods, because, processed foods, be it pork rinds or be it processed cheeses like cottage cheese, they're not the best thing in the world. No, they're not. And I don't care. And I'm still thriving, and I'm still getting massive amounts of nutrients, which is what I'm looking at. And I'm not robbing my body of anything that shouldn't be robbed, i.e. calcium, i.e. buildup of oxalates, like all the things. I give my body everything it needs and nothing it doesn't. And even if you're eating these kind of junk foods, it's still better than what you'd be doing in any other way. So the cookbook is just our family favorites. It's quite small, but it has been refined many times, many times. It was originally meant to come out in April 20 last year, 3. But again, for those who don't know me, haven't followed my journey, etc., I had breast explant surgery last year. So it just pushed everything. Everything got put aside. I had my surgery, and then I went to London as well for about 6 weeks and had a ton of treatment over there, because I actually poisoned myself from wearing these toxic bags in my body for 20 years, and had to go through a ton of treatment over there and work on my own nervous system health and rebuild, because I did some pretty severe damage to myself. So that got pushed out. So the cookbook is almost there, and it's got all our favorites, and that's really exciting that we're going to be able to share that, because it's more because people are like, give me that recipe, give me that recipe, give me that recipe. And I'm like, yes, it's just over here. So that's exciting to be out within the next month. Most of the recipes are already with the graphic designer. We're tweaking a few things, and you know what it's like, but we might reshoot the photography for it because some of the pictures don't line up with we're just going to see how, or we might just go, no, you know what, we're just going to put it out and and then the next one we do better.
Sure.
It's more because people
just like people do with their kids,
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's a great segue. Do you want to talk about the issues you had with the girls' schools and how you dealt with it and what happens now? Or not? You can say no, I don't want to talk about that. Or
I don't mind.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I'm like, what happened? Like, can I remember? Because at the time, when we're in our life and when we're going through something traumatic or huge, it feels like the biggest thing on the planet. But, a few years down the track, you're like, what was that thing again?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how far back do you want to take it? And with
I was just referring to the fact that your kids were having some health issues as a direct result of what was happening at the schools that they were at in terms of food.
Yeah.
And you asked the schools to work with you and they refused to work with you. That's the short version of all of the lead up to it. What did you do at that point? What happened? And what's the deal now with the schooling of the girls, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was when we first moved to New Zealand. So that was in 21. And we had put them straight into school because we had been in lockdown in London for almost a year when we moved back. So we were desperate for them to go back into a schooling environment.
And that was just before it happened here.
I know. It's just like, it's so rude. I jumped right from the fry pan directly into the fire, and it's okay. We knew, we did it anyway. Yeah. So they were at school and basically they were eating other people's food and etc. and created some severe health issues, especially for my middle child. So my middle daughter, Indiana, she had some gastro-inflammatory responses. She had some intestinal distress. She had some rashes. It affected her energy levels, etc., her mood, her, everything. She just was an absolute nightmare. And we couldn't really work out what was going on, like why she was so inflamed and why she was, why she was carrying any excess body fat. And that's not like a mental problem. That's not thinking that my child is fat. That's understanding that energy demands and energy storage is affected by hormones. And if something's out of balance, she's storing more than she should or she requires to. And so I knew to look at that and to investigate. Sorry, my camera just decided to tell me it's going to die. So basically we went to the school and we said we need to do an elimination style diet with her. We need to pull everything out and we need her to heal in her into her intestines. And they were very unreceptive. They didn't want to get involved. They were like, well, can't you give her substitutes? Well, why can't we give her this? They wouldn't allow her to eat by herself so that she could sit in the office, have her lunch, and then go off and join the kids and play. And they were just really unsupportive, and it made it impossible for us to heal her and to help our child. So ultimately we ended up pulling them out of school. That was also to do with the lockdown that then New Zealand went into as well. Because it had so much time off, I couldn't have them being off school again for God knows. So we then took them out of school and homeschooled them, got private tutors and private math tutors and private English, and did it all ourselves. And so since then they have been homeschooled. Yeah. Indiana was able to heal from all of her problems and is now thriving. And Winter is my youngest. She unfortunately was forced into taking formula when she was about 5 months old. And from one of her first immunizations, she had a very strong response, instant rash, instant raised area, and has had skin and eczema conditions ever since that very first immunization. So with Winter, she's my youngest. She's 3.5. We are still healing from her. And, there's lots of regret and remorse for getting her immunized because of this response and because of my understanding now more in depth about that. I wouldn't choose to do that again. So we're still healing Winter a little bit with her skin, but they're such healthy, amazing girls. And it was the best thing that we did, taking them out of a government-run environment where literally 90% of the food, if they have a cafeteria, is non-food. It is processed, ultra-processed poison. And they're in an environment where essentially little food addicts, which is what we all are. We're all addicted to food. Say it or not, it is the case. It is addictive on a physiological and neurological level. It is very addictive. So you've got these little food addicts running around school, all eating this ultra-processed food that's normalized in our society and becoming pre-diabetic or with fatty liver disease at 6 years old. And that is the case. That is the facts of that environment. And so I'm glad that they're not in that anymore, because they have much less saturation and exposure to that. It will allow them to have a more healthier, grounded environment to grow up in.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful, awesome way to summarize. I think you did the right thing. Better wind up, because my mum is calling on the cell phone and calling back again and calling back again. So I better respond to that. So we will wind up, but just before we go, just remind us of your social media so that people can find you and sub to that and stuff.
Yes, I am the Jessica Treatment on Instagram, and I am also the Carnivore Mummy on Instagram. I don't really use Facebook, so use those two. Also, the jessicatreatment.com is my website. It is under construction, so be gentle. I'm just putting it together for you guys.
Beautiful. And your address for Sorul?
Jessica Nutrition.
.sorul.com. Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time today, Jess. I appreciate it very much. It's always good to talk to you. And yes, we'll, if people want to see more of Jess on the channel more often, they just need to put that in the comments.
Yes, I need some.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Amazing.
Catch you then. Ciao.